The revelation. Dr. Sarah Chen had rehearsed this moment countless times over the past decade, but standing before the Galactic Council's grand chamber still made her heart race. The massive circular room, with its rising tiers filled with representatives from hundreds of advanced civilizations, was designed to intimidate. Today, it would witness something unprecedented. Honorable members of the Council, Sarah began, her voice steady despite the weight of Earth's future resting on her shoulders. We stand before you not as supplicants, but as prosecutors. The chamber erupted in murmurs. A Centurion representative, his blue skin shimmering under the chamber's lights, leaned forward. Prosecutors? Earth barely achieved FTL capability 6 months ago. What could you possibly? 300 years, Sarah cut him off, her words sharp as a blade. For 300 years, your civilizations have systematically stolen biological materials from Earth. Today, we present evidence of these crimes. With a gesture, she activated the holographic display above the chamber's center. Images materialized, cloaked ships in Earth's orbit, secret facilities on the dark side of the moon, detailed records of harvesting operations. Each piece of evidence had been meticulously compiled, a damning testimony to centuries of theft. The Centurion laughed, though Sarah noticed the slight tremor in his secondary arms. Even if these accusations were true, harvesting from pre-FTL civilizations is perfectly legal under Article 47 of the Galactic Code. We've done nothing wrong. Sarah's lips curved into a slight smile. This was the moment she'd been waiting for. Nothing wrong. Let me show you exactly what you've done. New images filled the air, children in hospitals, elderly people suffering, rows of graves stretching to the horizon. These biologicals you harvested weren't just random materials. They were medicines, treatments, cures our people desperately needed. Every time you stole from us, human beings died. The chamber grew quiet. Some council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but Sarah wasn't finished. She had only begun to unravel the truth that would shake the galaxy's foundations. But that's not why I'm here today, she continued, her voice taking on an edge that made even the most ancient council members lean forward. I'm here to inform you that Earth has known about these thefts since 1985. And we've been preparing our response for nearly 40 years. The silence in the chamber became absolute. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat as she prepared to deliver the words that would change everything. Protocol Nemesis is now active. The simple phrase triggered chaos. Alarms began blaring throughout the station as Sarah's words registered. The biological materials the advanced civilizations had stolen over the past 40 years weren't what they thought. Each sample, each compound had been engineered by Earth's scientists, modified and connected to a system they controlled. As panic spread through the chamber, Sarah remembered the day she'd been recruited into Project Nemesis. She was fresh out of medical school, brilliant but naive, when General Martinez approached her with a truth that would change her life: Earth wasn't helpless against alien theft. In fact, they'd been using it to their advantage. The project was brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of trying to stop the thefts, Earth scientists had ensured the aliens stole exactly what humanity wanted them to take. Each biological sample was engineered to serve a dual purpose, appearing valuable enough to steal while containing hidden modifications that could be activated on command. "You're bluffing," the Centurion representative shouted, rising from his seat. "A pre-FTL civilization couldn't possibly." "Check your longevity treatment facilities," Sarah interrupted, her voice cold. "I think you'll find some interesting changes happening right about now." The chamber erupted in chaos as emergency communications flooded in from across the galaxy. Sarah watched as the mighty council members, who had moments ago looked down on her with condescension, realized the true scope of their vulnerability. As she walked calmly toward the exit, Sarah thought of all the humans who had suffered and died because of alien greed. This was just the beginning. Phase 1 was complete, but Earth's revenge was far from over. In her private chamber aboard the station, Sarah contacted Earth Command. General Martinez's weathered face appeared on the screen, his expression grim but satisfied. The markers are activating exactly as planned, Dr. Chen. Within 48 hours, the first effects will begin to show. Are you sure we shouldn't tell them what's coming? Sarah looked at the photo on her desk, a little girl in a hospital bed, tubes running everywhere. Her sister, who might have lived if the aliens hadn't stolen the cure she needed. No, she replied firmly. They need to learn. They need to feel what it's like to be helpless. And this is just the beginning. As alarms continued to blare throughout the station, Sarah pulled up the classified files for Phase 2. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's revenge wasn't served with warships or weapons, but with patience, science, and cold, calculated planning. The real question wasn't whether their plan would work, it was already working perfectly. The question was, how would the galaxy's most powerful civilizations react, and they realized that the primitive humans they'd been stealing from had just outmaneuvered them all. Sarah Chen smiled as she began preparing for Phase 2. The galaxy was about to learn a valuable lesson about underestimating humanity. The first wave. The Centaurian Empire's capital world of Nova Centauri was in chaos. In the towering spires of the Imperial Medical Center, Dr. Crowell examined his latest readings with trembling hands. His lower set of arms gripped the edge of his desk while his upper right hand swept through his silver hair, a new development that had appeared just hours ago. Impossible, he whispered, running the diagnostic again. The rate of cellular degradation is beyond anything in our records. The holographic display showed the same results. The Empire's vaunted longevity treatments were not just failing, they were accelerating the aging process. 3 centuries of carefully maintained immortality were unraveling in a matter of days. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen watched multiple feeds from her new command center beneath the Rocky Mountains. Screens covered every wall, each showing different aspects of Protocol Nemesis's effects across the galaxy. She focused on one particular feed, the Centaurian Emperor's emergency broadcast. The once mighty ruler, who had maintained the appearance of a being in his prime for over 3 centuries, now looked ancient. His blue skin had faded to a pale gray, and deep lines marked his face. My people, he struggled to speak, his voice wavering, we face an unprecedented crisis. Our finest minds are working to, he broke into a fit of coughing, and the broadcast cut off. Phase 1 is exceeding expectations, Dr. Wong reported from her station. The engineered retroviruses are spreading through their systems exactly as designed. Every time they use their longevity treatments, they're actually accelerating the process. Sarah nodded, but her attention was drawn to another screen showing a different crisis unfolding in the Varsidian Consortium. The Varsidians, master geneticists who had been among the most prolific thieves of Earth's biological materials, were discovering something even more terrifying than rapid aging. Dr. Chen, Michael called from his monitoring station, you need to see this. The Varsidians are reporting widespread genetic instability in their core worlds. Sarah walked over to his station, watching as reports flooded in from Varsidian space. Their carefully engineered genetic modifications, the source of their supposed superiority, were beginning to break down. Centuries of genetic manipulation, all based on stolen human DNA, were unraveling. They never questioned why human genetic material was so compatible with their modifications, Sarah mused. They never wondered why they kept finding exactly what they needed in our databases and research facilities. General Martinez's face appeared on the main screen. Dr. Chen, we're detecting massive fleet movements. The Quantum Collective is mobilizing their warships. Right on schedule, Sarah replied calmly. Have they noticed the changes in their neural networks yet? The Quantum Collective, a civilization that had merged their consciousness with quantum computers, had been particularly arrogant in their theft of human brain tissue samples. They'd used the neural patterns to enhance their hybrid consciousness, never suspecting that each sample contained dormant biochemical markers designed to slowly alter their quantum neural pathways. Their entire network is experiencing cascading errors, Michael reported. Their hybrid minds are starting to fragment. Sarah turned to Dr. Wong. Begin Phase 2. It's time to show them the full scope of what they're dealing with. Dr. Wong's fingers flew over her console, activating the secondary protocols hidden within the engineered viruses. Across the galaxy, the effects began to multiply. The retroviruses weren't just affecting the aliens' bodies, they were rewriting the very foundation of their civilizations. In the Centurion Empire, their advanced biotechnology began to fail as the viruses spread through their infrastructure. The Varsidians watched in horror as their genetic libraries corrupted themselves, centuries of research destroying itself from within. The Quantum Collective's mighty fleet hung motionless in space as their hybrid crews lost their connection to their quantum networks. Incoming transmission, Michael announced. The Galactic Council is calling an emergency session. They're begging for Earth's help. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Proper begging requires proper motivation. Let them suffer a bit longer. Show them what real helplessness feels like. She walked to the center of the command room, where a new hologram displayed the spread of Earth's engineered viruses throughout the galaxy. Each point of light represented a civilization that had stolen from humanity, now facing the consequences of their actions. Dr. Chen, Michael said softly, some of these civilizations, they're facing complete collapse. Millions could die. Sarah turned to face her assistant, her expression hard. How many humans died because they stole our medical breakthroughs? How many children suffered because we didn't have access to cures they took from us? They've had centuries to consider the consequences of their actions. Now they get to experience them firsthand. But even as she spoke, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. The real test would come when these civilizations realized their only hope for survival lay in the hands of the primitive humans they had exploited for so long. Earth's terms for assistance would reshape the galaxy's power structure forever. In her private office, Sarah reviewed the classified files for Phase 3. The engineered viruses weren't just weapons, they were tools of transformation. Each civilization affected would soon discover that the only way to survive was to accept a fundamental change in their biology, one that would forever bind their fate to Earth's. Begin preparations for Phase 3, she ordered. And send a message to the Council. Tell them Earth is willing to discuss terms, after they've had a chance to fully appreciate their situation. As she watched the galaxy descend into chaos, Sarah remembered all the times humanity had been dismissed as primitive, as unworthy of respect. Now, those same advanced civilizations were about to learn that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or military might, it was the patience to plan and the will to execute a revenge centuries in the making. The question was, how far would Earth go to ensure this never happened again? Breaking point. The Quantum Collective's Grand Archive, once a testament to their technological supremacy, had fallen silent. The vast quantum computers that had housed billions of hybrid consciousnesses now hummed with discordant energy as their neural networks continued to degrade. In the physical world, their biosynthetic bodies wandered aimlessly through chrome corridors, their once perfect integration with machine consciousness now fragmented and failing. Supreme Cognitioner Val 9, one of the few collective members still capable of coherent thought, faced the emergency council of the remaining functional leaders. Their physical forms flickered as neural degradation made it difficult to maintain their holographic projections. Our civilization is on the brink of digital death, Val9's voice crackled with static interference. The humans, they didn't just attack our bodies. They've infected the very foundation of our collective consciousness. On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the Quantum Collective's crisis unfold with clinical detachment. The command center's monitors showed similar scenes of devastation across the galaxy. The Varsidians' genetic libraries were corrupting faster than expected, while the Centurion Empire's aging crisis had triggered widespread social collapse. Dr. Chen, Michael called out, his voice urgent. We're detecting unusual activity in the Andromeda arm. The Helios Confederation is attempting to quarantine their systems. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They're trying to isolate themselves from the spread of our engineered viruses. Show me their progress. The main holographic display shifted to show the Helios Confederation's massive quarantine operation. Hundreds of ships formed energy barriers between star systems, desperately trying to contain the spread of Earth's biological weapons. They don't understand yet, Dr. Wong observed from her station. The viruses aren't spreading through normal space. They're propagating through their own medical distribution networks. Exactly, Sarah replied. Every time they use their longevity treatments, every time they access their genetic libraries, every time they connect to their quantum networks, they're spreading our virus further. Their own infrastructure has become their greatest vulnerability. General Martinez's weathered face appeared on a secure channel. Dr. Chen, we're detecting increased activity around Earth. Several civilizations are positioning their fleets in attack formation. They're desperate, Sarah noted calmly. But they've already lost their chance for military action. Check their fleet status. Martinez's eyes widened as he reviewed the data. Their crews, they're all infected. The biosynthetic interfaces they use to control their ships are failing. Precisely. Now, it's time for Phase 3. Sarah turned to Dr. Wong. Activate the secondary markers. Let's show them what true helplessness feels like. Across the galaxy, the situation deteriorated further. The engineered viruses began expressing their secondary characteristics, targeting not just biological systems but the very technological infrastructure that advanced civilizations relied upon. Biosynthetic interfaces failed, genetic modifications unraveled, and quantum networks collapsed. In the depths of the Rocky Mountain facility, Sarah reviewed the latest reports with her core team. The holograms showing the spread of Earth's revenge had grown to encompass nearly every major civilization in the galaxy. Dr. Chen, Michael spoke softly, the Galactic Council has issued a formal surrender. They're begging for our help. They're offering everything. Full membership, reparations, unlimited access to their technology. Sarah's expression remained unchanged. They still don't understand. This isn't about membership or reparations. This is about fundamental change. She activated the facility's secure communication system, broadcasting directly to the remnants of the Galactic Council. Her image appeared before the desperate representatives of dying civilizations. Honorable members of the Council, her voice carried the weight of Earth's accumulated grievances. You believe we've attacked you out of revenge. You think we want your technology, your resources, your position in the galaxy. You're wrong. The chamber fell silent as Sarah continued. What we've done isn't just an attack, it's evolution. The viruses we engineered aren't just destroying your old systems, they're preparing you for something new. Something that will ensure this never happens again. She gestured, and new data appeared before the council members. The secondary markers we've activated aren't weapons, they're transformative agents. They're rewriting your biology, your technology, your very existence to be fundamentally interconnected with Earth's biosphere. The implications hit the council members like a physical blow. Earth hadn't just sought revenge, they had engineered a solution that would make future exploitation impossible. Every civilization affected by the virus would become biologically dependent on Earth's ecosystem. You used to steal from us because you saw us as primitive, as resources to be exploited. Sarah's voice grew harder. Now, your survival will depend on maintaining a symbiotic relationship with Earth. Any attempt to exploit us will literally destroy you from within. The council erupted in chaos as the full scope of Earth's plan became clear. They hadn't just engineered a weapon, they had forced an evolutionary leap that would bind the galaxy's most powerful civilizations to Earth forever. In her private office, Sarah opened a secure file containing the final phase of Protocol Nemesis. The transformation of the galaxy had begun, but the hardest part still lay ahead. How would these civilizations adapt to their new reality? And what would humanity become as they took their place as the linchpin species of galactic society? The answer to these questions would determine the future not just of Earth, but of all intelligent life in the galaxy. As Sarah prepared for the challenges ahead, she knew one thing with certainty: the age of human exploitation was over. The age of symbiosis had begun. Metamorphosis. The once pristine halls of the Varsidian Central Genetics Archive had become a sanctuary for the desperate. Thousands of Varsidians, their carefully engineered bodies showing signs of genetic breakdown, gathered in the vast chambers seeking answers. Their civilization, built on the mastery of genetic manipulation, was watching centuries of supposed perfection unravel. High geneticist Zara Ven, her iridescent scales now dulled and patchy, faced the crowd from a hovering platform. "The human virus isn't just attacking our modifications," she announced, her voice carrying the weight of a terrible revelation. "It's rewriting our genetic code at a fundamental level. We're becoming something different." On Earth, Dr. Sarah Chen studied the Varsidian data with intense interest. The transformation was proceeding faster than expected. The engineered virus wasn't just breaking down their artificial genetic modifications, it was restructuring their DNA to create a permanent biological link with Earth's biosphere. Dr. Chen, Michael called from his station, were receiving similar reports from across the galaxy. The Quantum Collective's hybrid consciousness is being restructured. The Centurion's cellular regeneration is shifting to match human patterns. "It's like they're all becoming cousins of humanity," Sarah finished. "That's exactly what's happening. We're not just punishing them, we're making them part of our extended family." The main display showed the progress of the transformation across different species. The virus was adapting to each civilization's unique biology, creating variations of the same basic pattern, a deep, cellular-level connection to Earth's biological systems. General Martinez's hologram appeared, his expression troubled. "Dr. Chen, we're detecting unusual activity in the outer colonies. Some of the affected civilizations are attempting to reverse engineer the virus." Sarah nodded, unsurprised. "Let them try. The virus's code is self-evolving. Every attempt to understand it only triggers new adaptations. They can't fight it any more than they can fight their own evolution." In the Quantum Collective's primary data hub, Supreme Cognitioner Val-9 made a startling discovery. As their hybrid consciousness fragmented and reformed, new patterns were emerging. The virus wasn't destroying their quantum integration, it was restructuring it to create a new kind of consciousness, one that maintained a constant, subtle connection to Earth's electromagnetic field. "We're becoming a bridge," Val-9 realized, the thought echoing through what remained of the collective consciousness. "A living link between classical and quantum reality, with Earth as our anchor point." The implications rippled through the galaxy. Each civilization was being transformed in a unique way, but all changes led to the same result: a fundamental dependence on Earth's complex biological and physical systems. In her command center, Sarah received an urgent message from the Centurion Emperor. His once proud face, now aged but stabilizing, filled the main screen. "Dr. Chen," he spoke with difficulty, "we understand now. Your virus, it's not just punishment. It's reconstruction." "Finally," Sarah replied, "you begin to grasp the truth. Humanity didn't want revenge, we wanted to ensure this could never happen again. The only way to do that was to make you physically incapable of exploiting us." She brought up a new display, showing the complex web of biological and quantum connections forming between Earth and the transformed civilizations. "Your people stole from us because you saw us as separate, as inferior. Now, you're becoming part of us. Any attempt to harm Earth will be like attacking your own vital organs." But even as the transformation proceeded, new challenges emerged. Dr. Wong's analysis revealed unexpected variations in the virus's effects. Some populations were adapting faster than others, creating dangerous instabilities in their societies. "Dr. Chen," Dr. Wong reported, "we're seeing radical social changes in affected populations. The Varsidian strict genetic hierarchy is collapsing. The quantum collective's unified consciousness is fragmenting into individual nodes. The Centurion's immortal elite are facing mortality for the first time in centuries. Sarah watched the data streams with growing concern. They had prepared for the biological transformation, but the social upheaval was exceeding their models. "Begin protocol stabilization," she ordered. "Deploy the emergency medical teams. We need to manage this transition carefully." Earth's ships, prepared in secret over decades, emerged from hidden bases across the solar system. Each carried teams of doctors, scientists, and diplomats trained to help manage the galaxy-wide transformation. This was the true test of humanity's plan, not just forcing change, but helping to guide it. In her private office, Sarah studied the latest reports with growing awareness of the enormous responsibility Earth had taken on. They hadn't just reshaped the galaxy's power structure, they had fundamentally altered the course of galactic evolution. Dr. Chen, Michael entered with new data, were detecting something unexpected. The transformed civilizations, they're developing new abilities. The Varsidians are showing signs of enhanced bioelectric sensitivity. The quantum collective is developing a form of biological quantum entanglement. Even the Centurions are manifesting new regenerative capabilities. Sarah leaned back in her chair, considering the implications. The virus wasn't just creating dependence on Earth, it was unlocking new potential in every species it affected. They had engineered not just revenge, but a forced ascension of galactic life. "Send word to all Earth facilities," she ordered. "Begin preparation for Phase 4. The transformation is just the beginning. Now we need to help them understand what they're becoming." As she looked out at the night sky, Sarah could almost feel the new connections forming between Earth and the countless civilizations they had changed forever. The galaxy was entering a new age, and humanity would be at its center, not as conquerors or victims, but as the keystone species in a new kind of galactic society. The question now was, were they ready for the responsibility they had created for themselves? New Dawn. 5 years after the activation of Protocol Nemesis, the Galactic Council chamber looked vastly different. Gone were the rigid hierarchies and separated species sections. Representatives from every transformed civilization sat together, their bodies showing the visible signs of their evolution. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the center of the chamber, no longer as an accuser, but as the architect of a new galactic order. "The transformation is complete," she announced, studying the faces before her. "Every civilization that once stole from Earth has been successfully integrated into the new biological network. But this is not the end of our journey, it's only the beginning." The holographic displays showed the extent of the changes. The Varsidians, once obsessed with genetic purity, now possessed bodies that naturally synthesized compounds essential to other species' survival. The quantum collective had evolved into living quantum processors, their consciousness bridging the gap between organic thought and digital reality. Even the Centurions, their former immortality replaced with a different kind of longevity, had developed the ability to generate healing energies that could benefit all species. "We didn't just change your biology," Sarah continued, "we created a new kind of galactic ecosystem. Each transformed species now produces something vital that others need. Earth is the keystone, but every civilization has become essential to the whole." In the 5 years since the transformation began, the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The forced evolution had unlocked potential that had laid dormant in every species, creating abilities and connections that transcended traditional biology. High geneticist Zara Ven, her scales now shimmering with bioluminescent patterns that reflected her emotional state, rose to speak. "What we first saw as a punishment has become our salvation. The human virus didn't just transform our bodies, it awakened something within us, something that had been sleeping since our species first evolved." From her position in the chamber, Sarah reflected on how far they had come. The emergency teams sent out in those first chaotic months had evolved into permanent scientific exchanges. Earth's medical knowledge, combined with the transformed civilization's new abilities, had led to breakthroughs that benefited all species. Dr. Chen, Supreme Cognitioner Valnina's quantum projected form shimmered as they spoke. We've detected new patterns emerging in the galactic consciousness. The connections between our species are growing stronger, more complex. We're becoming something greater than the sum of our parts. The main holographic display shifted to show the intricate web of connections that now bound the galaxy's civilizations together. It was beautiful and terrifying in its complexity, a living network of species, each contributing to and drawing from the whole, with Earth's biosphere as its heart. We've received the first reports from the Outer Rim, Michael announced from his position beside Sarah. The non-transformed civilizations are requesting access to the network. They want to join voluntarily. This was something they hadn't anticipated. Civilizations that had never stolen from Earth now asked to be part of the transformation. The virus had created not just a punishment, but a new path of evolution that others wished to follow. In her private chambers later that day, Sarah met with the newly formed Galactic Evolution Council. Representatives from every transformed species gathered to discuss the future they had all inherited. The question before us is clear, Sarah addressed the group. Do we allow voluntary transformations? And if we do, how do we manage the expansion of the network? The Centurion Emperor, his once blue skin now shifting with patterns that matched Earth's seasonal changes, spoke first. We who were transformed by force have learned hard lessons about the responsibility that comes with this evolution. If others wish to join, they must understand what it truly means. The discussion continued long into the night. The transformation had created not just biological changes, but philosophical ones. Species that had once seen themselves as superior now understood the power of interconnection. Those that had hoarded knowledge now saw the benefits of sharing it. In her old office beneath the Rocky Mountains, Sarah reviewed the final data from Protocol Nemesis. The virus had exceeded all expectations, creating not just dependency but true symbiosis. Each species had developed unique abilities that contributed to the whole, making the network stronger with every addition. General Martinez, she addressed the hologram of her old friend, it's time to declassify the full history of Project Nemesis. The galaxy needs to understand where this all began. Are you sure? Martinez asked. Some of what we did was necessary, Sarah finished. But we're past revenge now. This is about building a future none of us could have imagined. The next day, as she prepared to address the galaxy, Sarah thought about how far they had come. What had started as a plan for revenge had evolved into something far more profound, the next step in galactic evolution. We stand at a crossroads, she began her address. The transformation we initiated as punishment has become an opportunity. Each of us now carries within our bodies the potential to contribute to something greater than ourselves. The question is no longer about survival or dominance, it's about what we can become together. As she spoke, the new connections hummed through every transformed being in the galaxy. They could feel Earth's seasons changing, could sense the pulse of life that connected them all. The virus had not just changed their bodies, it had changed their understanding of existence itself. The age of theft and exploitation is over, Sarah concluded. The age of symbiosis has begun. And together, we will discover what it truly means to be part of a living galaxy. Above Earth, ships from 100 worlds hung in orbit, their crews no longer alien to each other but part of the same evolving network. The planet below, once seen as a primitive backwater to be exploited, had become the heart of a new kind of civilization, one built not on competition and theft, but on connection and mutual growth. Dr. Sarah Chen, the architect of this new reality, looked out at the stars and smiled. Humanity had not just survived, they had changed the very nature of galactic civilization. And this was only the beginning.